Imagine a scenario for a second. You have you've just made a choice that makes you feel incredibly confident. Like you feel totally empowered.
Oh, right. Like maybe you just dropped, a significant amount of money on a cosmetic procedure or...
Yeah, or maybe you just adopted this like fierce take no prisoners attitude at work. You feel liberated.
Totally.
But what if that exact feeling of empowerment is actually an illusion? What if the very act you consider, liberating was secretly programmed into you by the exact forces you think you were rebelling against?
I mean, it is a deeply unsettling thought. The idea that your rebellion might actually just be, compliance wearing a really good disguise.
Exactly. And that is the philosophical grenade we are catching today. We are taking a deep dive into a highly provocative critique of modern feminism by Acharya Prashant.
Right. And it's a heavy one.
It really is. Our mission today is to unpack his argument that modern progressive societies might be confusing this freedom within a cage for actual liberation. Prashant is throwing out some massive paradigm-shifting ideas about internalized misogyny.
Yeah, and we are really just going to look at the explosion from all sides today, to see what he means.
You're right. And just to be clear up front, we aren't here to tell you if he's right or wrong. We are not taking sides. We're just going to tear into the architecture of his argument so you can examine it for yourself.
Absolutely. And to really understand his argument, we kind of have to start by looking at what we currently define as empowerment on a day-to-day basis.
Right. What does it actually look like?
Well, if you look at highly progressive societies today, there is just an absolute boom in the beauty and medical spa industry.
Oh, for sure.
We are talking, Botox, lip fillers, rhinoplasty, butt lifts. And this isn't just a fringe celebrity thing anymore.
No, not at all. It's incredibly normalized.
Exactly. Even for young women in their early 20s who are just walking into these clinics on their lunch breaks.
But the justification you hear for that, and I mean, it's a really powerful one, is usually, I'm doing this for me. It makes me feel confident. It's my body, my choice.
Right.
And I struggle to see how feeling good about yourself is oppressive. Like if a person feels confident and happy after a procedure, how can Prashant argue that they're actually trapped?
Well, because he questions the origin of that desire. Oh. Prashant argues that this modern version of empowerment is actually the traditional male gaze.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which has just been deeply internalized and then rebranded as freedom.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Rebranded?
Yeah. Oh. The argument is that women are now looking at themselves and at other women exactly how men have historically looked at them.
Okay, that's wild. Do you have an example of that?
Sure. I mean, think about how common it is for women to call each other hot as a standard compliment, or even using genital-based insults against each other. Well, those were originally invented by men to disparage women, right? But the vocabulary and the whole perspective have been completely adopted.
So it's kind of like it's like downloading an app onto your phone and then defending it as your own creation.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. Completely forgetting that someone else actually wrote the code years ago. You just clicked install before you even knew what the app did.
Exactly.
But how does that actually work psychologically? I mean, how does a society convince someone that an alien thought is actually their own original identity?
Well, it works because the programming happens long before critical thinking even kicks in. Prashant asks this really pointed question. Did you have the specific concept of confidence as a little girl?
Oh, probably not.
Right. Did a 5-year-old look in the mirror and, think about her cheekbones? The answer is no. These ideas are absorbed from a patriarchal system at a very young age.
Right, through media and stuff.
Exactly. Girls are exposed to media, advertisements, peer pressure, and societal expectations way before they have any defensive filters in place.
So it just sneaks in.
Completely. The traditional male gaze is completely soaked in. And because you don't realize that this alien thought has entered your mind, you nurture it.
You think it's yours?
Yeah. You develop it into an identity. You start saying, this is who I am, this is what I like.
You literally grow around the invasive idea.
Exactly. Prashant challenges this by asking a hypothetical. He says, would you still be getting those lip fillers or butt lifts if you had been raised in relative seclusion?
Oh, like away from that specific societal conditioning.
Right. The answer is almost certainly no, but because the external pressure has been so successfully internalized, any external inquiry just stop.
Because you genuinely believe it is your own free will.
Precisely. The oppression is no longer external. It has literally become the identity itself.
Wow. Okay, so if this psychological rebranding of the male gaze is actually happening on a mass scale, we should be able to see the friction somewhere in the real world, right?
You'd think so, yeah.
Does the data actually back up this idea that women are running this, patriarchal software and calling it their own?
It actually does, and the numbers highlight a really jarring reality. There is something sociologists call the happiness paradox.
The happiness paradox. Okay, what is that?
So in the 1970s, during the height of the second wave feminist movement, surveys showed that women reported consistently higher levels of happiness than men.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right. And the expectation was that as society became more progressive, that happiness gap would only widen in women's favor. But today...
Wait, don't tell me it reversed.
It did. After decades of feminist and social progress, women report lower levels of happiness across all age groups compared to men.
That is wild. And what's really crazy is where this anxiety is most concentrated.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you would think that in highly progressive, gender-aware societies, places like Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Finland, and the U.S., mental health would be thriving.
You really would.
But in these specific countries, women experience higher rates of anxiety, depression, and consumption of stress-relieving medication than men do.
Yeah, the data is pretty stark.
And you look at Gen Z women in the U.S., who are arguably the most gender-aware generation yet, and they report massive anxiety regarding something called hitting the wall.
Right, hitting the wall. That's a term that refers to the fear of losing sexual desirability as they age.
Which sounds so regressive.
It does. You have young women panicking over their biological clocks, incredibly anxious about finding a partner before they turn 40, and trying desperately to maintain this, hyper-youthful appearance.
So they're acutely aware of their physical value in the societal marketplace.
Yes. The freedom they've gained hasn't alleviated the pressure. It seems to have just mutated it.
Wait, I really struggle with the data when we look at the professional side of things, though. Because Prussian talks about the STEM paradox, right?
Right, the STEM paradox is fascinating.
In more conservative societies like Algeria, female enrollment in STEM fields, science, tech, engineering, math, is around 50%.
Yeah.
But then in highly liberated societies like Finland and Sweden, it drops below 25%. And women are claiming it is their choice to drop out or that they just prefer to stay home.
That's right.
I have to push back on his conclusion here. I mean, if progressive countries have removed the barriers, why wouldn't women just pursue what they want? Is Prashant seriously arguing that having more choices is making them choose patriarchal roles?
He is arguing exactly that. And it really comes down to a concept called hegemony.
Hegemony. Okay, break that down for me.
So hegemony is essentially when the oppressed group fully accepts the worldview of the oppressor to the point where they enforce the rules on themselves.
Oh, wow.
Think about it this way. In a conservative society, the pressure is external. A family or a society might push a woman to study incredibly hard in a STEM field to gain financial independence.
Because she knows the society won't protect her. She has to secure her own survival.
Right. The cage is outside of her, and she is actively fighting it.
Okay, I follow that.
But in a fully liberated society, that external pressure is gone. The gates to the cage are wide open. But, and this is Prashant's core point, if the internal programming still quietly equates a woman's true value with her physical desirability or her traditional domestic role,
she will enforce those desires on herself.
Exactly. She will look at the open gate, stay inside the cage, and say, I am a free woman. Why should I stress myself out studying engineering? It is my choice to stay home.
Man. So the hegemony is complete when the oppressed person uses the exact vocabulary of the oppressor to justify their lack of movement.
Oppression without the oppressor.
That is a heavy concept. Nobody is locking the door, but you stay in the room anyway and call it a lifestyle choice.
It's pretty bleak when you frame it like that.
So why is this internalized programming so incredibly sticky? Why is it so hard to break out of?
Well, to understand that, Prashant argues we have to look past the symptoms, past the anxiety and the drop in STEM enrollment. We have to look at the root historical cause. We have to look at how we define a woman in the first place.
And how do we do that?
Well, when you look back through history, 50% of the human population was kept subservient by the other 50%, purely for the sake of physical pleasure and reproductive control.
Right, for centuries.
Because this dynamic has existed for so long, society has been deeply conditioned to view men and women not just as different genders, but almost as two entirely different species.
The separate species idea. Yeah, there is this wild man and beast analogy he uses to explain this.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
He says, if a tiger kills a man, we call it a man-eater, and we hunt it down. But if a man kills animals, well, that is just nature.
Exactly. The rules are different.
Right. The rules of engagement are entirely different depending on the species. And Prashant points out that historically, male violence toward women has been subtly accepted, ignored, or just normalized as the way things are.
But if a woman kills a man,
it makes global headlines. It is treated like an unnatural event, like a glitch in the matrix, because the rules differ for the two species.
And this leads to a crucial realization about what has actually been suffering all these centuries. Prashant argues that the true sufferer hasn't always been the physical body.
Maybe.
He gives the example of a medieval landowner's wife. She might be pampered, well-fed, dressed in the finest clothes, and physically much healthier than, say, a peasant husband.
So her body is in great shape.
Right. But her consciousness was suffering deeply because she was kept purely as a serviced physical unit. Her entire existence was maintained solely for the man's use.
Okay, so the body was thriving, but the human being inside the body was completely suffocated.
Precisely.
That makes total sense for the medieval era, but what does this mean for how we interact today? Like, you walk into a modern corporate office on a Tuesday morning, and you'd think we are past that.
You'd hope so.
But Prashant points out how modern HR departments literally train employees on how to deal with women.
Yeah.
Like, a male employee feels he has to watch the clock, or check if the CCTV is active, or leave the door open if he is alone in a room with a female colleague.
Yeah.
Is treating someone carefully in an office actually just reinforcing this separate species idea?
From this philosophical viewpoint, yes, it is absolutely reinforcing the divide.
Really?
Yeah, by constantly acknowledging the womanness of a coworker rather than their humanness, we are continually anchoring them to their physical body.
Ah, I see.
You aren't treating her as an intellectual peer, you are treating her as a potential biological complication. You are interacting with her biology first and her mind second.
That makes a lot of sense.
Prashant even critiques the modern fight for things like menstrual leave.
Oh, I'm sure that's controversial.
Very. While it is entirely well-intentioned, his argument is that it further anchors the woman's identity to her biology in the public sphere, rather than her intellect or consciousness. It emphasizes the physical differences rather than our shared humanity.
Okay, so if focusing on the physical body is the ultimate trap, how does this complicate modern feminist movements that explicitly use the body as a tool for rebellion?
Good question.
Because I'm thinking of the Free the Nipple movement from around 2012.
Right.
The core argument there was that men can go shirtless in public, so women should be able to as well in order to desexualize the female body.
Right.
It seems like a direct challenge to the male gaze.
Well, from a purely biological standpoint, Prashant agrees there is nothing inherently unique or scandalous about the nipple. I mean, all mammals have it. Cows, pigs, humans.
Right.
It shouldn't inherently have to be hidden. But his deeper critique is about the mechanism of liberation. Exposing a body part isn't inherently liberating the mind.
How so? Like, what's the disconnect there?
Okay, imagine a prisoner inside a jail cell. One day, the prisoner decides they have had enough. They take off all their clothes and run around the cell completely naked, shouting that they are free. Are they actually free?
No. The bars are still there.
Exactly. The walls still exist.
Wow.
If a woman goes topless at a protest, but is still hyper-aware of the male gaze, or if she is out there shirtless, but her mind is secretly comparing her body size to the woman standing next to her, she hasn't achieved liberation.
Wow. She has just changed her outfit.
Yes.
That is a brutally effective metaphor. The physical act of rebellion is happening, but the psychological prison is entirely intact.
Exactly. True liberation is when clothes become completely irrelevant, whether you wear 7 layers of heavy fabric or nothing at all.
Right.
Freeing a body part without freeing the consciousness from the male gaze is what Prashant bluntly calls the rebellion of kids with toys.
He also points out that historically this obsession with the body wasn't the default. Like in ancient India or in many tribal societies, women wore very little simply because of the hot, humid climate. And it wasn't viewed as obscene or scandalous because the consciousness of the society dictated the culture. The culture wasn't built around an obsession with hiding or revealing the female form. The body was just a body.
Which brings us to a really uncomfortable juncture in all of this.
Oh boy, what's that?
If the bars of the jail are entirely mental now, and the external oppressor has largely left the building in progressive societies, who is guarding the prisoners?
Who is keeping the mental jail intact?
Right. And this leads to one of the most challenging assertions Prashant makes. He brings up the idea that women themselves are currently the deepest patriarchs.
Wait, women are the deepest patriarchs. That is a massive, highly controversial claim.
It is.
How does he possibly justify the idea that the oppressed are the ones running the system?
He breaks it down through the mechanics of propaganda. Think about it. If you are a dictator creating a lie to fool the public, you know you are telling a lie.
Right, you don't actually believe your own propaganda.
Exactly. You are just using it for control. But the person who is successfully fooled, the citizen who absorbs the propaganda.
They believe it completely.
Yes, because women historically didn't realize they were being fed a narrative designed to subjugate them, they absorbed the patriarchal rules as absolute truth. Therefore, they carry the patriarchal code deeper and with more conviction than men do today.
And he gives some pretty intense psychological examples of how this plays out in real life, doesn't he? Like the dynamic of mothers who urge their daughters to tolerate abusive husbands. You look at that and think, why would a mother send her own child back into harm's way?
Right.
But if you break down the psychology, the mother actually thinks she is protecting her daughter. The deep internalized patriarchal code dictates that the man is the superior species and must be sided with in any conflict.
Yes.
The mother genuinely believes that a woman without a man is in a worse position than a woman with an abusive man. She is enforcing the patriarchy out of a warped sense of love.
Yeah, the programming literally overrides the maternal instinct. And we even see this deep-seated patriarchy in modern inverted roles that, look like empowerment but aren't.
Like what?
Take the example of a young Gen Z girlfriend who slaps her boyfriend because he liked another girl's social media post.
Okay.
She might feel liberated and bold enough to hit him, but her motivation is entirely rooted in traditional patriarchal concepts of exclusivity and ownership over a partner's body.
Oh, wow. I never thought of it like that.
Right. She isn't dismantling the system. She's just taking a turn playing the role of the controlling patriarch. She is acting out the exact same dynamics of control, just from the other side of the table.
That really reframes things. Because we constantly hear the phrase, women should uplift each other. It's on coffee mugs. It's on T-shirts.
Everywhere.
But according to this critique, if we are all running this compromised software, what does actual upliftment look like versus what we are doing now?
Well, true upliftment, according to this philosophy, should mean actively relieving each other of mental shackles and dogmas.
So not just surface level stuff.
Right. It should mean sitting down with a friend and saying, let's examine this societal expectation that is causing you so much anxiety, and let's dismantle the root of it together.
But that's not what happens.
No. Instead, modern upliftment is often incredibly shallow. It is just encouraging each other to mimic traditional male power. Like, you can be a ruthless boss too. Go smoke a cigar.
Or focusing entirely on physical validation, like, you look so hot today.
Exactly. That isn't elevating a person's consciousness. It is just redecorating the interior of the cage to make it look a little nicer.
Okay, so we've mapped out the cage pretty thoroughly here.
I think so.
We've seen how the bars are made of internalized expectations, how the male gaze has been downloaded and rebranded as self-empowerment, and how focusing on the body just reinforces the trap.
Yeah.
So if the modern progressive movement is just seeking freedom within a cage, what is the way out? What is Prashant's ultimate solution to all of this?
Well, his proposed solution is pretty radical. It is the total, uncompromising rejection of the historical paradigm.
Yeah. Total rejection.
Yeah. He argues that the ultimate goal shouldn't just be equality of bodies. He actually calls basic equality a mere hygiene condition of a civilized society.
A hygiene condition.
Yeah, like making sure there are enough chairs in a room for everyone to sit down. Yes, it must happen. It is the bare minimum, but it is far too small a target for true liberation.
So what's the real target?
Their real goal is what he calls unbecoming a woman.
Unbecoming a woman. Man, that sounds abstract and honestly terrifying to a lot of people.
It is.
What does that actually look like for someone walking into an office on a Tuesday morning?
It is terrifying because it strikes at the very core of human identity. Unbecoming a woman means stopping your automatic identification as a physical unit or a specific biological species.
Okay.
On a Tuesday morning at the office, it means you stop walking into the room acutely aware of how your physical form is being perceived.
Right.
It means demanding to be addressed, first and foremost, purely as a human consciousness. It requires looking at every tradition, every standard of beauty, every expectation of behavior handed to you, and just rejecting it.
Because historically, none of those traditions were designed to expand your mind.
Exactly. They were designed to keep you contained.
This philosophy really challenges you to ruthlessly audit your own life. It forces you to look at your daily routines, your deep-seated anxieties, the things you strive for, and just ask, how much of what I call my choice is genuinely mine?
Yeah. Did I write this code or did I just install the app without reading the terms and conditions?
It demands a level of inner honesty that is profoundly uncomfortable. It asks you to strip away the aesthetics of your rebellion and look at the actual substance of your freedom.
Right. Are you just seeking parity of the body when the body itself is the cage? Are you fighting for better conditions inside the prison, or are you trying to break the walls down entirely?
Which brings us back to where we started today. That feeling of empowerment you get when you buy the new outfit, or get the procedure, or, play the corporate game perfectly.
Yeah.
If true freedom requires dropping every tradition, every label, and every societal expectation that was handed to you, who is the you that is left behind?
That's the real question.
If you stepped out of that mental jail cell, took off all the psychological clothes of societal expectation, and completely stripped away the gaze of the world, would you even recognize yourself?